Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the IVES. This is their part number RL1152. This piece of hardware has been around for several decades, and IVES is a name synonymous with roller latches, ball catches, bullet catches. I'm sure they've made bullet catches in the past, but ball catches, roller latches, both commercial grade like this and more residential in nature. A roller latch versus a ball catch refers to the business end. What's retaining the door on the strike? What's keeping the pressure from the door transferred to the frame, assuming that the strike is on the frame, but it doesn't have to. Quite frankly, in this instance, the strike is likely installed on the door. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Let's go over the dimensional properties first. Overall width, it is about 4 7/16. The depth of the plate, about 1.5 inches. The overall projection of the plate is about 11/16. The depth of the body from the faceplate all the way down to the end of the mechanisms looks like it's about 1.5 inches. Okay. Now, it's also going to come with a strike plate, a small full lip strike like this. Typical 2 1/4. Overall width, about 1.1 inches. Center line of the screw holes to the edge of the lip is about 5/8 of an inch. It will also include the fasteners that you need. 2 long screws and 2 short screws. 2 for the body, 2 for the strike, and a complementary finish. Now, let's switch up the conversation. Let's talk about exactly what you would use this for. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Now, in the world of roller latches from IVES, there are different models, but you've got the RL30, and then you've got these roller latches, and the difference is the strike that it'll come with. There will be 3 options there: a full lip strike, an ASA strike, and a T strike. And then you've got this RL1152. This is an odd bird. And it really is used in applications where you have, here's where you're going to use this, a single acting door that is hung on center hung pivots, which therefore is in a cased opening frame. This piece of equipment provides the stop function, as well as the ability to hold the door in the closed position. You can see these installed in the jamb. You can see them installed up in the header. Wherever you like it to be installed, you'll see it. I probably see them in the header more often than the jamb. I personally like the jamb, from the perspective that my trim, my dummy trim or my pull handle, whatever is there, my recessed flush pole or my edge pole, is going to be located near where the strike would be located, so that I'm applying my force to the area where I want to apply my force, which is the nylon roller to the strike itself. These 2 inserted bumpers, those are IVES SR64. That's a replaceable, should you need to, just rubber bumper is all that is. That can be driven out, popped out, and replaced. We don't hear about these being replaced, but bumpers, it's a piece of some sort of synthetic material that can be, that can fatigue and fail with time. I've never heard that about the nylon roller, though. So the RL1152 is used in applications where you need a stop. You don't have a typical stop on the frame to prevent the door from swinging further into where it is, and where you're going to see that is that center hung pivot, where you have beveled the lock edge of the door, the what would be the lock edge of the door, the lock style, and then you've put a round over on the pull side of the pivot side of the door. It's where you're going to see these. Now, you don't have to see them there, but there's really, in my opinion, no reason to have an RL1152, obviously, when you already have a stop. Now, having said that, this item is going to be available in different finishes, etc. So what I would like to do now is switch to the screen view so that we can take a little closer look at the supporting documentation and then quickly sketch out the application where you're going to see this RL1152. Let's do that now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at some photographs that we have uploaded here. The packaging, the contents, different views of the strike now. A nice looking oil rub bronze from IVES. They do oil rubbed pretty well. Not everyone does as well as IVES does. Another view of it. If you had this installed in the header and you looked up, this is what you're going to see. The mechanism showing the adjustability, we'll get to that in a moment. The nylon roller itself, the two adjustment bolts. Some additional photos. Backside of the unit. The mechanism itself, the springs. When you tighten or loosen those bolts, you're going to increase or decrease the distance between these two plates. And that will allow, when this needs to be depressed, for this to compress this spring and then slightly relax when the roller hits the dimple in the strike. These two springs, all they really do is just keep this item in place. They're counterbalancing it to a certain extent. Screws and the strike. Okay, now, extended description information down below, the dimensional properties of the item. And they're saying that this is a combination of an RL30 roller latch and an angle stop. Yeah, okay, sure. It's definitely a stop and roller latch. They make roller latches. They make angle stops. The two met, fell in love, got married, and started a family. And that family is called the RL1152. Actuation is simple. Closing of the door causes the roller to fall into the depression of the strike, thereby holding the door closed. Projection of the roller is easily adjustable using the adjusting screws on the face of the unit. Maximum projection is 3/8, allowing for not only a variance in your door clearance, but also an amount of force that it might take to move the door on and off the strike. Nylon roller, brass construction. F, if you have the need for a brass roller, that can be done. I've literally never seen this with a brass roller. As a result, I can't make intelligent commentary as to why that's there. Anyway, could be finish. It could just be a finish option, is why. Who wants to see a large white roller installed in their hardware? That could be the reason. Assuming that they're going to put a finish on that, they'd have to. It wouldn't be raw brass or mill brass. Oil rub bronze finish. Let's take a look at other finishes that we have listed in the site. US 10 satin bronze, 10B oil rub bronze, 26 polished chrome, 26D satin chrome, US 4 satin brass. I don't see satin. I don't see polished brass listed here. We'll investigate that. A couple of links on the side here. First, let's look at the product brochure. And that's the RL30 that they're discussing here. The RL1152 has a longer faceplate than the RL30. Very common RL32. So you can do the RL30 with this full lip strike. You can do it with an ASA strike. They do not, I said earlier that they do, but they don't have the RL30 with the T strike. You'd go to the RL32 for that. Yeah, they do list US 3, so we'll get that added to the website. But I have to tell you that this RL30 is extremely common. These roller latches you're going to see all over the place. It's the most common. This design is the most common. The 32 is nice, but that's going to be appropriate for typical doors when they have a standard lock prep in the edge, meaning it's going to be 2 1/4 by 1 1/8 wide. So if you have a cylindrical lock type of prep in the edge of the door, or you don't want to do an unusual prep, this 3 3/8 tall body, go with the 2 1/4 1 1/8. The RL32 is the same concept, is the bottom line. I think it's a cleaner look too. You don't have those adjusting bolts that you have to visually contend with. Residential roller latch here, another one, the surface mounted version. There's our big RL1152. That's here. Here we have the same extended description information. You can see where we pulled it from. Optional strike. STK 685 and an STK 685L. Why would you need these? Well, you have a double acting door, is the bottom line. Where the door is centered in the jamb, or you have a double acting door where the door is not centered in the jamb, or you have a single acting door where the door is not centered in the jamb, or it has an exceptionally deep inset. So what would be the application of these double acting strikes? Well, let's start sketching some stuff. So first of all, where would you, that common application for the RL1152 I had said earlier, you have center hung pivots, you have your door, okay, that's a square edge, that's a radiused edge, that's a beveled edge. That door swings out like this. That RL1152 strike is going to go up at the top. Well, it won't go quite there. You'll have a certain back set. And then that strike's going to be mortised up into the header of the frame. And we're going to take a look at the template in a moment. That's obviously, if our door is, well, that's wrong. If our door is sitting in here, that body of that unit is going to be here. Your faceplate's going to be here. Your angle stop is going to be here. Your roller will be here. That door is going to sit inside of here. Okay? They need to swing. That's why that is. That's where that's going to go. Now, those odd strikes, you can have the same application, except now your door, if I was more proficient in AutoCAD, I would do it there. Whoops. Meaning if I could do it in real time like this. Which I can, but it might be a little more tedious for you to watch me do it. So this door is going to double act. It's manual. There's nothing automatic or self-centering about it. But you need to have one of those strikes installed in the center. Well, this strike is all wrong. If you're using an an RL30, this strike is all wrong. These double acting strikes are basically this, just really stretched out into this sort of application. So now you're basically going to have a strike that's going to that's awful. It's going to kind of go like this. Okay? You'll have the dimple here, your roller will sit in here, and then that door can swing this way, that door can swing this way. You'll have handles probably on the door to make that the case. You'll be able to push and pull the door as you like. Last time I did this, it was a closet going from a client's master bedroom into their walk-in closet. They wanted to have a door there. They wanted to push or pull, center hung pivot, roller latch, long strike. And you have to order these based on the depth of the frame as well. It's not just give me one of those. The A dimension has to be ordered. Same concept with the STK 685L, but you can clearly see that we're just simply going to bias that door. All of this is going to get moved over here, that kind of concept, where you're doing it to one side because you might want the door to sit flush on one side of the wall. You want it to be completely concealed, or as much as possible. And that door will only swing in. But you want the door pulled out and flush to the face of the installation, is why you might use this one. We've sold them both all the time. Not all the time, but they're fairly common. You have to determine the overall strike length, which is A plus 3/8 to accommodate a 3/16 projection on either side. There you go. That's a bit of a deep dive into roller latches from IVES. I think it's time well spent. Now, the template, let's take a stare, or installation they call it. Let's take a stare at that. This is going to be the dimensional properties of the item, which are going to also serve as how you're going to mortise the thing. And basically, there's going to be 3 dimensions. Well, there'll be more than that, but you have the dimension of the 2 3/16 mortise length. That's the mortise. You're going to have the 7/8 depth. The width, and then the depth. So those 3 dimensions, that's what you're going to mortise. They're also then saying, although they're really not showing it, you're going to want to mortise the plate flush. They're saying that that dimension is they're not giving us that dimension. Well, yeah, they are. No, they're not. They're not telling us how that is. They're showing this not exactly flush with the jamb. So they're telling us the rabbet to the depth of this dimension is 3/16. And then they're giving us 4.5 inch, 1.5 inch. So if they're saying 3/16, I'm going to put my caliper on the unit and tell you how thick it is. So they're saying 3/16. The thickness of the plate is 0.118. 0.118. That makes no sense. Yeah, this plate is thinner than what they're, I think, attempting to say. It's 0.12 inch basically. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. So having said that, if it was me, I would not, if you wanted for some reason that hardware to stick off the rabbet like it's somewhat drawn here, you'd probably prep it 100 thousandths, but I would be prepping it so it was flush, is what I would be doing. So I personally would be prepping that 1/8 of an inch deep, is the bottom line. I would do it by the length, and I would do it by the width. So that would fit in nice. And then you've got the 3 dimensions for the body component. So easy stuff, most definitely is. The question is, what's the back set? Well, you've got 4.5. So from the edge of the door, if you know that you're 4.5 inch overall, that'd be 2.25 from the center line to the edge. And let's say that you added whatever thickness you wanted here, 1 inch maybe. So depending on how much room you want here, I would want to personally avoid the stiles in the frame. I wouldn't want to have to mortise into the end of that material. So depending on how thick that is, I'd probably be more than 2 3/4 back set. 1/2 inch plus 2 1/4 is 2 3/4. I might be closer to a 3 1/4 back set, but I would still want it tucked over as far to this position as possible. But what I'm driving at is look at the edge of your door. You're going to see the stiles. This is looking down at the top of the door. This wood here, these are grain marks. That's what they're supposed to be. What's the width here? I don't want to chisel or route into the end grain at all. So I would want to get my strike moved over to the point where it's clear of the end grain of the wood. Just my experience, that's what I would do. I don't know what's right or best, but that's what I would do. All right, now let's wrap up this video. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page here. And when you click on that, the manufacturer's page will indeed load in our site. And from here, you can pull up not only all of the IVES products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as seen here. And by the way, this horizontal navigation is how you go through the products we sell. Link to the manufacturer's website is here. A link to the full product catalog is here. Speaking of full product catalogs, we've got a couple that are 125 years old, or getting there, 120 years old, 125 years old. Nice old documents are here if you wanted to see what IVES was making at the turn of the 20th century. IVES was known as a window hardware manufacturer in terms of sash locks and sash lifts. They had lots of choices, not just the 2 or 3 they have today. They had lots. So if you wanted to take a trip down memory lane, maybe of your great-grandparents' house, I suppose, or even more so, great-great-grandparents' house, you could look there. And it's because the name IVES has been synonymous with hardware, you know, since well, you know, into the 19th century. I don't know when Hobart B. Ives got his start, you know, antebellum era, obviously, somewhere in that range. Most American hardware manufacturers, the big ones today, all got their start in that, you know, antebellum era. Anyway, speaking of how the Civil War would have impacted industrial manufacturing, that's a different topic, but it had a substantial impact. In fact, the amount of northern production in 1864 was a substantial increase by double digits over the best year on record to that date for the entire country. It was an explosive time, is what I'm driving at, and the Civil War era just comes to mind because that's when your Yales, your Nortons, your Sargents, Corbin, that's when all these people got their start in the hardware industry. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. In conclusion, always a very nice quality fit and finish on the IVES roller latch product line. Their name is certainly not known for window hardware really anymore. They're under the Allegiant umbrella, which means that they're providing all of the trim and auxiliary hardware for projects. In addition to that, hinges, continuous aluminum geared pin and barrel, pivots, push and pull hardware, trim and auxiliary complete with the inclusion of hanging devices as well. Any questions on the RL1152 in a 10B finish or any other IVES product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.